Something like threw a rock and it landed.
Did you have to whisper your head?
No, why? Were you hearing something?
Please support this channel by subscribing and leaving comments.
Too big.
It was still agitated and popping and clicking.
I could even see the color of his eyes.
I was fearing for my life.
Let's go see what it is.
I heard something breathing behind me that sounded like it was 1,000 pounds or bigger.
Your adrenaline just makes your heart beat maybe 180 beats a minute.
The Alabama Booger does exist, most emphatically.
The origin of the name Alabama Booger Monster is unclear. However, tales of this strange creature date back to the 1930s, when a central Alabama man first sighted a hair-covered creature drinking from an artesian well. Hundreds of southeastern Alabama residents have a long history of encounters with the Alabama Booger. One family in particular has experienced repeated visitations.
It sounded like mumbling, a very, very low mumbling.
Throwing sticks and sounded like rocks in the water.
I was so scared that I ran into the house.
It was not a man and it was not an animal.
The first time I heard it, it really scared me.
Nobody can tell me that they don't exist, because they do.
The creature is believed to be a well-adapted biped that travels under the cover of darkness, has extraordinary senses, and for the most part, avoids humans at all costs. Can the sophisticated technology of the Encounters team prove the Booger Monster is real? Or is this creature just the product of imagination and legend? Cryptozoologist by profession and driven by her own mysterious encounter, Autumn Williams travels the world.
Thousands of people can't have seen something that doesn't exist. All we need is proof.
Sometimes at dawn, or the edge of dusk, there's a fleeting glimpse of an impossible sight.
Do you have it?
Get it. I see it.
Let go!
What's the range?
The sightings are real. The technology, cutting edge. Are you ready for mysterious encounters?
Something like threw a rock and it landed.
Did you have to whisper your head?
No, why? Were you hearing something?
The background was like a moan.
That one, I've never heard anything like that before.
And then it just all of a sudden got silent.
It might even be watching us now.
Definitely not a woodpecker.
No.
Okay. People don't go in the dark alone at night, walking around in the woods with no flashlight. So when she does it, she's bait.
I just heard like an ambient sound over this way that was kind of crunching.
Something walked up within 10 feet.
I don't know what was walking in the woods. At first, I thought it was one of the crew until I realized there was no path over there, and I saw no light from a flashlight. Whatever it was, it sounded big and bipedal.
Locals often claim to have encountered an unknown, upright walking creature near their rural homes.
It knew right then that I was the weak one.
Mark Baker has his own chilling story.
Making a sandwich when I heard a cat at my door, which is a very skittish cat. Shouldn't have been wanting to come in or anything. It would never come to anybody. And it was at our door. Here, cat. Here, kitty. Come on, kitty. I heard a noise. I flicked the giant light on and looked out the curtain there, and I seen something squatting down. It was probably 15 feet away from the window, but it looked at me.
Autumn Williams is a nationally known cryptozoologist and field researcher.
Monsters are my life. For over 13 years, I've compiled thousands of reports of unknown creatures. Many encounters are brief sightings by credible people with nothing to gain by telling their stories. My job is to collect the evidence, and, if they exist, to attempt to document my own face-to-face encounter.
And there is no shortage of credible sightings.
I've heard it before.
And when he would end his sentence, he'd go.
It was on 2 feet.
It looked like gorillas' eyes.
And I've heard, certain kind of whistles around here that, what bird would make.
A footprint right at the place where it was going.
And it was staying up with us, and we was running wide open.
I mean, it was huge.
Yeah, it was big, whatever it was.
It was frightening.
No, it didn't look like a man.
One family in particular has experienced repeated visitations by an unknown large hairy creature.
So this is the place, huh?
This is the place.
Each Easter, the Harris family meets for a reunion at their homestead, and each year the encounters continue. It's Easter week, and we have purposely planned our trip to coincide with the family reunion, hoping to take advantage of what appears to be an ongoing pattern of activity.
Gina and I was on the back porch, and we heard a big blam. We had been smelling and hearing them talk down there.
And after that, we didn't hear anything else that evening.
When we came out here the next time, there was a piece of hair hanging right here. We felt like the noise we heard came from its head hitting this.
The hunt.
Flicked the garage light on and looked out the curtain there, and I seen something squatting down 15 feet away from the window, but it looked at me.
When she turned the radio off, she heard some more crunching and some more walking. I told her it was probably a dog. She said, oh no, it was not a dog. It was much too heavy to be a dog.
The Encounters team is in a swampy rural area near Bruton, Alabama, about an hour's drive northeast of Mobile. Eyewitnesses report a strange, wet-haired creature whose odor looms as large as its body size. A creature commonly known as the Booger Monster.
This area is the snake bite capital of the world. Most sightings of the Alabama Booger occur in the darkest reaches of the swamp. This is where the team and I must go to have any chance of getting the evidence we need. And many rural people claim to have encountered these creatures.
It was walking with its head down, and it was swinging its arms.
The Harris family has been encountering a strange creature for years. Every Easter, the Harris family reunites at their Alabama homestead. And each year they commonly describe a visiting creature that smells like a foul mixture of rotting garbage and wet dog. Lois Harris and others have experienced this odor many times, usually just before an encounter.
Describe that odor for me. Put it into words.
Kind of like flowers and a bad odor combined.
The Harris family is excited to have us investigate this mystery.
We got the corn. We certainly have enough cable.
They hope the technology we have can provide some answers. So do we. But what exactly did the family experience?
When you have activity here, if you're noticing things, is there anything that's going on or that's not going on?
Music.
Music actually brings them in, you think?
And all evening long, I picked up my 2 pieces of wood, and I went, what they make, what we hear them saying, doing in the woods.
The technology that gives the Harrises hope includes military night vision goggles and an electrophysics 4th-generation starlight camera lens that will allow observation by amplifying minimal star and moonlight. Ideal for missions on foot. From above, the photograph will be used to survey the area, and a micron thermal camera to penetrate the thick undergrowth to detect the presence of anyone or anything alive and moving. The team will also employ an array of infrared night vision camera traps to record any creature moving under the cover of total darkness, and portable call blasting, designed to lure in the Booger Monster by playing actual recordings of the creature. But strange creatures are not the only concern tonight. Thunderstorms, heavy rain, and possible tornadoes are predicted in the area. Autumn is concerned about the expedition and the safety of the crew.
The stark contrast between the bluegrass music coming from the cabin and the guys setting up the satellite gear is surreal. The satellite will not only give us a link to the outside world, it could prove indispensable with dangerous storms on the way.
I can definitely see why the Encounters crew wants to have this technology with them on the road.
But even their technology cannot predict the kind of shocking development that lays in wait.
While most encounters with these huge creatures don't suggest that they are dangerous, the fear that witnesses experience is nonetheless real. It's necessary to try to prepare the crew psychologically in case an encounter occurs. Don't turn, don't move, just play dumb. Exactly. And let it come closer. That's what we want. And maybe, even though we're trained to deal with fear, we have a job to do. Some jobs seem to get done quicker than others.
The Harris homestead is at the epicenter of what witnesses say is the stomping ground of the Alabama Booger.
I'd heard a low grumbling on the front of the house, and it sounded like mumbling, a very, very low mumbling, and it was so deep that I could feel it in my chest as well as I could hear it.
He was making a racket.
No other animal around here that would be that loud. The one thing that I could definitely say from what I was hearing was it was very large.
It was walking with its head down, and it was swinging its arms.
It was like going into, say, like a nightclub where the music is so loud, where the bass is thumping, and you can feel it all through your body.
I think science will discover that someday.
Witness sightings, even the most credible ones, are anecdotal at best. We need hard evidence.
Technology might provide the team with new scientific evidence, but what about the evidence that already exists? Evidence that has never been seen or analyzed before.
We came out here the next time, there was a piece of hair hanging right here. We felt like the noise we heard came from its head hitting this. It was pushed, like you hit your head and the hair it took the hair from its head. And I had lost it.
Lois mentioned finding a clump of hair on the porch, but says she can't remember where she put it. It's so frustrating to think that the answer to this mystery could simply be misplaced.
Where did you find that?
Over there on the path.
Where?
The family has gathered what looks like long black hairs found on branches in the swamp. Could this be similar to the hair sample Lois has misplaced?
So, we'd want to look at this under a microscope. I don't know, and that was, I went for a long time thinking that I had hairs, and it turned out to be a type of a plant fiber. We'll go and we'll look over at the other stuff that they're finding over there, and we'll see just how it's snagged.
Autumn and Matt set out to investigate the source of the hair.
This stuff is growing out of the ends of these twigs. That would sure look like a hair if I didn't know any better. It's definitely not a hair.
No, it's probably a fungus or something.
While this evidence may not prove to be of value, the team prepares for tonight's expedition into the woods by surveying the area using the photograph helium balloon and an attached color camera. The hidden cameras are in place. The photograph camera is high above, and the crew is ready to spring their trap when Mysterious Encounters returns.
There's a crunch over behind the house, behind the car.
The Encounters team is in a rural area near Bruton, Alabama, collecting information from local witnesses who claim to have sighted the Alabama swamp booger, a 6 to 8 foot tall hairy hominid said to roam these swamps. The Harris family and others claim to have encountered these creatures at this site numerous times over a period of several years. The Encounters team has spent several grueling days setting up numerous high-tech surveillance traps in this mosquito and snake-infested swamp in an attempt to obtain proof of the booger monster's existence. For some, the creature is real, if only for a moment.
I went out to the edge of the field next to the house we were staying at to relieve myself. And as I was about to stand up, I heard something breathing behind me that sounded like it was 1,000 pounds or bigger. I mean, it was huge. It made a sound like a chuffing sound, like it wanted me to move out of its area. And it scared me so bad that I ran with my pants down around my ankles for about 100 feet before I pulled them up, and then I ran the rest of the way to the house. I never did look back.
For others, the moment can last a lifetime.
I was making a sandwich when I heard a cat at my door. It was a very skittish cat. It shouldn't have been wanting to come in or anything. It would never come to anybody. And it was at our door trying to get in.
Come on, kid.
I heard a noise. I flicked the garage light on and looked out the curtain there, and I seen something squatting down. It was probably 15 feet away from the window, but it looked at me. Well, I was just hoping and praying to God that it wasn't going to come go ballistic and knock the windows out or kick the door in or anything like that. I probably spent 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes looking for the gun, and I couldn't find it. It knew right then that I was the weak one. I was fearing for my life. Looked real muscular, real tall and thick. Didn't have a lot of facial hair. The next day, there was a real foul odor.
It makes sense that these creatures would have a large appetite and would take advantage of any food source available, even cat food. It's common details like these that cause me to take witnesses seriously and drive me to investigate.
We're going to go about 1.5 miles up, and we're going to incrementally come back about every quarter of a mile and blast calls. That way we can drag something back to camp with us, hopefully.
I want to take advantage of the dirt roads around the Harris homestead to blast calls of what witnesses claim are actual recordings of these creatures.
Let's just get started. We'll start working our way back.
A response might confirm the presence of an unknown animal here.
Bad weather is approaching and the team splits up into 3 groups, feeling an urgent need to gather as much evidence as possible while the weather holds.
The call blasting team is out laying on some calls.
While Scott and Autumn blast calls from the car,
Let's try the open scream.
team members Dan and Dave quietly survey the area with infrared video. Matt and Vince attempt to communicate using wood-knocking sounds.
As we knock a few times and we just hang out and listen. We're going to move to a different part of the tree line here and look through the brush to see if there's anything warm and furry back there.
We can stop from time to time and play some calls, open up the car doors and blast some stuff. It'll simulate an animal moving.
Those dogs just took off for something. They both ran out there really fast.
Let's see if we can get anything to make that sound back.
So we'll go up like 1.5 miles, and then we'll start from there and work our way back.
Yeah, God, that's bizarre.
You can hear it. Up here, take a left and go down a little further because it's coming from there and then we'll blast down that road.
Okay.
Did you hear that?
What was that?
It's just too distant, I couldn't really tell.
We were walking down this path and I ran into this little area where it smelled just like a wet dog barnyard combination.
This storm front has got me really concerned because, if this crosses over us, we're not going to be able to fly the photograph tonight.
The bulk of it is probably going to miss us.
National Weather Service will be have issued a severe thunderstorm warning for about...
The predicted storm arrived overnight. Heavy rain, not tornadoes, are now the problem. The rivers are rising rapidly, and the crew is forced to pack up and leave early. But before they leave, there is a surprise in store for them that could exceed their wildest expectations.
This is the hair that I found. I had lost it, but this is the hair that was hanging from the eaves of the porch.
Well.
What evidence, if any, was collected by the team's surveillance equipment? And could this clump of reddish-brown hair provide conclusive proof that the Alabama Booger truly exists? The answers when we return. It has been an exciting, albeit wet, 4 days for the Encounters team. But have they found anything new? Remember, Autumn and the Encounters team came to this swampy area of Alabama searching for scientific evidence of a creature called the Booger Monster. For decades, eyewitnesses have described seeing a 6 to 8 foot tall creature with long wet hair that consistently visits a particular area. Could cutting-edge science finally put some proof behind the legend? The Encounters team recorded hundreds of hours of video from infrared motion-activated cameras. Unfortunately, the storms grounded the balloon, and no aerial thermal camera footage was obtained. After painstakingly reviewing every single tape, team members concluded every encounter scene was with an identifiable animal native to this forest. But what about the hair samples found by the Harris family at their Alabama homestead? Does this evidence support their incredible eyewitness stories of a large hairy creature in their midst? Dr. Henner Fehrenbach is a retired scientist from the Oregon Primate Research Institute. Fehrenbach's job is to see if the hair sample supplied by Lois Harris actually belonged to a known primate or some other animal.
The Alabama hair sample contained several hairs that were of identical appearance and had about a 50-micron diameter. They all had a basic reddish tinge and delicate pigment granules evenly distributed in rather small numbers, rendering masses of this type of hair light brown or reddish blonde. All the hairs lacked a discernible medulla, meaning the central channel of the hair, and had a root of rather human structure. Some hairs had frayed ends and some had a rounded, worn end. These hairs represented typical morphology that I associate with the possible unknown primate hairs to date.
Although we didn't find any hard physical evidence of our own, the hair sample is extremely intriguing, and the eyewitnesses were numerous. Is this strange creature just a species of curious ape surviving and thriving in the forbidding swamps of Alabama? I feel like we're making slow progress, but I believe there's more to this story. Still, as researchers, we may, for the first time, hold one more key to this mystery. In the meantime, the Encounters team and the Bounder are off to investigate yet another unknown animal.
If you're enjoying all this rare and unique content, please show your support by subscribing and leaving comments.